wild. Cannibalistic gangs take over Haiti, and you know how I've been warning y'all about not taking planes the last month? Well, a whistleblower just passed away. Before we really dive in,
and a team of 4 inspectors to Spirit Aerosystems to inspect the 41 section before they sent it to Charleston. And we found 300 defects. Some of them were significant that needed engineering intervention. When I returned to Charleston, my senior manager told me that we had found too many defects and he was going to take the next trip. So the next trip he went on, he took 2 of my inspectors. And when they got back, they were given accolades for only finding 50 defects. So I pulled that inspector aside and I said, did Spirit really clean up their act that quick? That don't sound right. And she was mad. She said, no. Said the 2 inspectors were given 2 hours to inspect the whole 41 section and they were kicked off the airplane.
And if you believe in the coincidence of numbers, it was 1233 at 33%, and I actually saw it at 333 in the video. Anyways, what are y'all's thoughts?
I learned how governments work, and it was absolutely astounding to me to see the real truth. You begin to see a whole world that you've never known. The word I use is occult. Occult simply means hidden. This is exactly what is going on in the world today. Our governments, banks, institutions of education, etc., are operating on a totally occult or hidden basis. When you go into court, why do you have to go to court? You play tennis on a court. You play basketball on a court. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. So you have a team of lawyers, and they throw the ball back in the other guy's court, and that team throws the ball back in the other guy's court, and the judge is a referee. He doesn't care who wins or loses. He's going to get paid anyway. So he wears a black robes. Most people never question, why do Catholic priests wear black robes? Kids that graduate from high school wear black robes. Judges wear black robes. Rabbis wear black robes because black robes represent the planet Saturn. They're a symbol for the planet Saturn. Saturn was called by the ancient people Lord of the Rings, and Saturn is Lord of the Rings. This is why women were told in the ancient world to listen to their god, and the concept was they would wear an ear ring. Men were to get married before their gods. They would wear a wedding ring, because the old ancient god of the Middle East was the planet Saturn. Saturn was directly connected to Yahweh, the Hebrew god. Even today, the Jews celebrate the worship of Saturn. Saturn in the old Phoenician language was called Shabbath, and his worship to honor him once a week was called Sabbath. So when the Jews are having Sabbath, they're actually paying homage to their god Saturn, Lord of the Rings. The 6-pointed star is called the Star of David. Actually, it's not the Star of David. All the encyclopedias and reference works will tell you that it's called the Star of Saturn. It is a hexagram. Hexagrams represented the planet Saturn.
If you're seeking the real truth, if you want to understand what you are and where we are, this ebook will have answers. Check the link in the profile bio.
The city of Pittsburgh just authorized a 4-hour daily purge. Like, if you live in Pittsburgh, I hope you got a firearm. And if you don't, go fucking buy one and get a lot of ammo, because you're gonna need it. Because between the hours of 3 a.m. and 7 a.m., your 911 calls are going to voicemail. And also during that time, there is not gonna be a single fucking cop at a single fucking police station in the city of Pittsburgh. Like, during most of the overnight shifts, there is going to be 22 police officers for the entire city. They're not going to be responding to most calls. They're no longer going to be responding to theft, harassment, criminal mischief, and the worst of all, they will not be responding to burglary alarms. The police will not be responding to your house being burglarized. Who the fuck thought this was gonna be a good idea? Who the fuck thought that in the middle of the night you only need 22 police officers for the whole fucking city? Who thought sending 911 calls to voicemail for 4 hours a day was a good idea? Y'all are literally about to have a 4-hour purge every fucking day. Your city is gonna get torn apart. Seriously, citizens of Pittsburgh, buy firearms. Lots of firearms. Because the police there aren't going to protect you anymore.
Dude, the Boeing whistleblower just turned up not alive. You know how Boeing's planes have been falling apart in midair for the last year, like doors coming off, tires falling off mid-flight? Well, it turns out that this guy, John Barnett, who spent almost a decade as the quality manager for a plant making the 787 Dreamliner, one of the problem childs of Boeing, well, he retired in 2017. and he's been taking legal action against them ever since. He's been alleging things like when a plane isn't getting built fast enough, they'll tell their dudes just to go and get scrap from the scrap bin, like broken parts and parts that didn't pass inspection, just slap them on there so the plane gets done in time. He also claimed that up to 1/4 of the oxygen masks would fail if actually deployed, plus a number of other allegations that Boeing obviously denied. And then he wound up not alive in his truck in a car park on the 9th of March from a, quote, self-inflicted wound. But the spooky part is what he did right before that happened. Because see, this legal battle's been going on for years now. But just this last week, he gave a formal deposition in which he was questioned by Boeing's lawyers. So Boeing's lawyers just asked him a whole bunch of questions under oath about what he knows. And then that same week, he turns out to not know anything anymore. Right before he was due to undergo further questioning on Saturday. So what did they find out that he found out that now we're not going to find out? I mean, allegedly, obviously. If it was like an accidental death, like a car crash or something, you might be able to go coincidence. But like, who fights a legal battle for years and years and years, and then the year when Boeing's problems are all coming to light and proving you right, then you decide to off yourself? Like, once like the world is like totally turning to your side, then you're over it and you're gonna just quit? I mean, really?
Have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would you choose?
Kylie Minogue.
Marilyn Monroe. Oh God, I wouldn't have a clue.
I know, straight up. Yeah. Paul Hogan. Kim Kardashian.
No.
I'd like to have dinner with Justin Bieber.
What? He's not coming to my house.
So,
I'd have Bob Hawke.
Dave Hughes.
Barry Humphries.
Jimi Hendrix.
People who have made a difference in the world, maybe Nelson Mandela at the dinner table.
I don't know what he's going to say. I'm scared.
If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who would you choose?
Probably our whole family, like our whole extended family. Mum and Dad. Mum and Dad. Does it have to be a celebrity? Could it be family?
We love it. We talk about how school is. We ask Mum and Dad how their day was.
Family.
Yeah, Mum and Dad. Family. Who would you guys like to have dinner with? They just want to be with us while they're eating food, which is pretty cool.
They see us above everything. I'm going to get...
Bit of a message in it for me.
Ever wonder how a cell phone actually works? Well, this is Billy Carson, and in his theory, these are how cell phones work. Let me know if you guys agree with his theory. Comment below on that video.
So this cell phone is connected to a tower that has microwaves, right? The data in the phone transmits out. It rides that beam of light, that microwave, it's a light wave. It rides it to the tower. It's piggybacking it to the tower. From that tower, it gets sent to other towers around, up into a satellite, depending on how far you are away. It drops it back down to a tower in your local region. And then the information that's encoded, the digital bits of information that's encoded into it, ride the wave down to the other person's device. And the device lights up, and then the processor inside the phone decodes the encoded piggyback message on the light wave. So we use light waves to send information because we found a way to piggyback the information on the wave of light and let it ride with it out. See? That's how things work. Now, look at the universe as a whole. Your mind is doing that every single thought that you think. You're sending information into space-time 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every idea, every thought. So this is why I believe in the Book of Life. I believe in, which originates in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, by the way. The Bible picked it up much later. I believe in the Book of Life, which is also talked about in the Emerald Tablets, which is 36,000 years old. And the Akashic Records is the same exact thing. There's a record of every thought that has ever been thought of by every sentient conscious entity that exists throughout the entire multiverse. So when you sometimes say, oh man, I had a great idea, a lot of the times you just got on the same frequency of an idea that already existed and you downloaded it.
See that news story recently that was it happened in Spain. This woman was doing a experiment and she was going to be living in a cave underground for 500 days. The only human interaction she had was, I think it was like weekly or monthly visits from doctors just to check on her, and that was it. And they wouldn't update her on anything. They wouldn't tell her what day it was. They would not do anything. She laid under there. There's videos of her doing like workouts and exercises and stuff and vlogging, pretty much just telling her experience.
Right?
No sun at all. 500 days. And this was like in October of like 2021. Then they pull her out and she's like almost resisting because she thinks it's only been, what she's been tracking, only been 120, 150 days. She only believed it would only have that many days had passed.
She just lost complete lost time, everything. I mean, imagine your sleep cycles, how messed up they would be. Absolutely terrifying. Think about being alone in a cave for 500 days. Nope.
Do you see those cave exploring videos? Like when they're crawling?
It gives me so much anxiety. Have you seen those videos?
I wonder what those guys got on their freaking track.
The sodium pentothal. Well, that is the only cartoon I've seen in 2 months. But this is what I believe in now.
Convergence of globalization and technology has created a new brand of terrorism. They view their home country as the enemy.
Disturbing news tonight about homegrown terror. Right now, it looks like there is no connection between the men arrested and any known terrorist cell.
Homegrown.
Homegrown, I should say.
You traitors, pipe down. You're all here because you hate freedom.
Fine words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
I have a conspiracy theory. I think everything that the government tells you is so bad for you is actually good for you. How come they don't give a shit that all of our food is sprayed with glyphosate, that we eat high fructose corn syrup, there's mercury in fish? So what I'm saying is they literally push us to do things that are directly unhealthy, but for some reason, there is like a black box warning on tanning beds. And they're so crazy about making us wear sunscreen. We've never used more sunscreen in the history of humanity, and we have more skin cancer in the history of humanity. Because sunscreen gives you cancer, not the good kind. You can use zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. The chemical sunscreens are the ones that soak into your skin and they legitimately give you cancer. So it's like Skin Foundation and the American or the whatever Science for Disease, all the like multiple letter like organizations, all they do is tell us to wear sunscreen. I'm like, if they're so against tanning beds, I think we're onto something. I'm gonna do everything opposite of what they tell me.
We are now facing a blindness epidemic. It revealed that nearsightedness has increased a massive 59% in Gen Z, and the United Nations say that by 2030 it's going to affect 40% of the world's population. A top eye surgeon said that the leading cause is that youth are now spending too much time with their electronics too close to their face during a critical time in their life when they should be getting natural sunlight. I'm gonna have to say it. Blind generation.
But my question actually has to do with your numbers theory. So if by your logic you say 1 times 1 equals 2, are you insinuating that 1 times 0 then equals 1?
Equals 1. Well, that's what we were saying with the identity principle, the identity property. It says that 1 times nothing equals nothing. So now you have the laws of physics have to now adjust because something just disappeared. Conservation of energy can't be created or destroyed. So if 1 times 0 equals 0, then what happened to the energy of the 1? Isn't that the same problem that Stephen Hawking was talking about with the event horizon and the information going in and still being present? That conflict that was started? Well, that's because of the math. The principles in the math are not founded on truth. It's not founded on substance. The identity principle, anything times 0 is 0 and anything times 1 is 1. Where is that number? Where is that exemplified in nature or in universal phenomena? Is it?
Oh, but we may actually have, my friend. We may already have. Let's take a second to get a few people mad out there with these photos of excavated giant bones found all over the world. But why would they be mad? Oh, it's because these are fake. That's right. Every one of these photos of giant bones have been deemed fake, but I'm gonna show you the real ones. Photos like this are claimed to have been part of an archaeology Photoshop contest back in the day, but Were they just part of a cover-up? Let's start off easy. These 6.5-foot femur bones are confirmed real and weigh around 1,100 pounds. But they were of course labeled as dinosaur bones, belonging to a species called sauropods. Real convenient being able to just slap a dinosaur label on any potential giant remains we ever find, huh? A lot of people will say, it's only one bone, where's the rest of the giant then? Oh yeah? Where's the rest of the dinosaur, motherfucker? But you know what, they might actually be dinosaur bones, so let's not jump to conclusions yet. Like this two-headed mummy discovered off the coast of Argentina in the 1600s, measuring 12 feet tall and currently on display in a museum, confirmed by many physicians to be real. Now there's this, a giant skeleton over 23 feet tall, uncovered in Ecuador and 100% confirmed real, which was later dismissed as an ancient sloth? Like, come on, they're just making shit up at this point. Another photo from Ecuador. Kinda blurry, I know, but almost no evidence pointing to it being faked. Here's a giant footprint fossil in South Africa, 4 feet long and estimated to have belonged to a being 24 to 27 feet tall. And finally, there's this. A much more human-looking femur bone, and not as thick as the others. Dug up in the Euphrates Valley in Turkey, measuring 47 inches and estimated to have belonged to a giant over 20 feet tall. All confirmed real, and giant excavations like these used to get widely reported in newspapers all the time back in the late 18 to mid-1900s, but now they're always quick to sweep these under the rug for some reason. With the Smithsonian, the world's leading museum and research education institution created by the US government, accused of covering up all giant findings and instead putting the spotlight on how fake the fakes are. Like they did with the San Diego giant in 1865, which is one of the smaller ones, inspected by dozens of scientists and featured in many newspapers. After which the Smithsonian purchased the giant for a pretty large sum, and then all of a sudden, many years later, they dismiss it as a hoax, saying that it was made from gelatin and we never see it again. Google searches of these giant excavations will obviously only bring up the fakes, pushing the most ridiculous ones to the top of the search results. The problem with finding definitive proof of these giants is the internet is laced with these Photoshop jobs. So all the Google debunkers are quick to downplay any new evidence that comes up, like, nah bro, it's fake, didn't you read that fact check article bro, even if real evidence were to come up. But even if real evidence were to come up, the alleged Smithsonian cover-up can easily just write a bunch of articles that discredit it as a hoax. We all know this isn't the first time governments and tech giants were caught deliberately manipulating data to control the narrative. A lot of the time, the difference between a conspiracy and fact is time. Now, I'm not saying this is 100% one of those cases, but keep that mind open, people.
I want you all to write this down for later, because don't just take what I'm saying and say it's infotainment, it's really interesting, that's a bunch of BS after you leave this. Look this stuff up. This stuff is going to give you something to go by. There's a place outside of Abu Sir, near the old city of Memphis in Egypt, and it's called Zayat El Aryan. Zayat El Aryan. This place has been guarded since the 1950s. It's heavily guarded by foreign militaries, our guys. And in that area, this is the last known picture that came out of this unfinished, magnificent, incredible area of an unfinished pyramid in 1950s. It's got an underground subterranean complex the size of New York City. Aircraft can come and go without being seen. It is Egypt's Area 51, and what I'm told, and I have had this confirmed from many places, there's a real live Stargate in there, like SG-1. You know, we've heard about these Stargates on shows like Star Trek, with the transporter, Stargate SG-1. Well, they're real. Look it up. Look what it says about that place in the conspiracies. But here's an interesting one. If you go over to the area of Abydos, there's a fascinating temple there. We find up on the wall, we find this relief that looks like we find helicopters, planes, submarines, tanks. Do you guys see it?